Hello and welcome to our August edition of Community Connect. Thank you, Bruce Remme, who is the Activities Director with Marshall Public Schools, for being my guest.
Thanks much. I appreciate being here.
So as always, we're going to kind of recap what happened in July, and then we'll kind of get into our program, which, what a week to have you as my guest, Bruce. Not like you have a lot going on this week.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk about July. More things are starting to open in July. The farmers market, of course, one of our best community events we have in the community. Bruce, do you get to the farmers market?
Yeah, my wife gets there more often than I do, but
Yeah, it's very important. And as we all know, it's located right now between the YMCA and the parking lot between YMCA and Schwann's. So it's good to have that up and going. Lots of people enjoy coming to that. That started the first weekend in July. July 16th, Crazy Days happened. That was an event that we got many phone calls on. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Of course, we did happen. The businesses came armed, and they had a lot of good deals. Appreciate all the businesses putting as much effort, and the people that came out to the businesses to support. Make sure that you continue to support local and all the businesses that were open for that. Along with Crazy Days, the Visit Marshall Medallion Hunt went on as scheduled, and they had 2 winners this year. In fact, the Medallion Hunt was from Monday through Thursday this year, and we had 1 winner that came in on Tuesday who stumbled upon the medallion, and then we had another, it was hidden again, and we also had one that came in that evening. So 2 Medallion Hunt winners. Congratulations to all the winners for the Medallion Hunt that went on the same week as Crazy Days. Of course, this in July we had a lot more open up for sports. June 24th was a key date for some of the outdoor sports that were able to open. Some of the indoor sports were able to open on July 1st. So it was nice to see the soccer fields, the baseball fields, the softball fields being utilized. A lot of people were anxious about getting out on that too. And then the last thing I wanted to kind of touch on, Chambers of Commerce statewide were tasked by the state of Minnesota to distribute masks. So that was our job last week at the Chamber. Lyon County was able to get 20,000 masks from the state of Minnesota. So we reached out to our neighboring towns, and we distributed about 3,500 to the neighboring towns, and then we still had about 16,500. And for all the businesses that came in Wednesday through Friday of last week to get all the masks. It was an unusual week, but one way for our businesses to get a lot of value out of the Chamber, I suppose. So crazy summer, Bruce.
certainly has been for everybody.
Yep. So let's move on. Let's this week has been, the announcement came out, the Minnesota State High School League came out with the announcement. So lots to talk about with Bruce today. So again, thanks for being here. Bruce, could you recap some of the highlights of the 2019-20 year? Let's reverse to when things were somewhat normal. The last big event that we had, we were out in Gustavus Adolphus. The boys beat Mankato East. It was a crazy fun time. I went there with my son, a buddy, and his dad. Great times. But not only that, let's talk about the recap in 2019-2020.
Yeah, thanks. Certainly you highlight kind of the way it ended. Backing up, we had a great fall last fall. We had a lot of our teams had good seasons on the athletic fields. We advanced some teams and individuals to state tournament in swim and dive. Boys and girls cross country. The volleyball team made another state tournament trip. Marching band, BPA, all competing at the national level in a lot of different things. So we had a great fall season, moved into the winter, and again, that went really well. We won more conference championships there. We had the dance team advance to the state tournament. And then, like you say, everything kind of came to a head there at that boys basketball game at Gustavus. And in my years of being around high school sports, both as a coach and in this role as an AD, one of maybe the best events I've been able to be a part of. The atmosphere that night was just electric. Both teams, just a well-played game, super atmosphere. That's what makes high school sports what they are. Mm-hmm. And so excited for our student athletes, so excited for our coaching staff. I thought they just had an outstanding game plan and executed it to a T. Mm-hmm. Fun to watch kind of the precision part of that. Mm-hmm. And the next day, it's one of those days where the world stopped turning. A lot of people look at it that way. We find out that was it. The state tournaments had to be, canceled from that point on, and I thought Coach Carroll did a great job kind of breaking that news to the team and explaining to them, that it doesn't take away any of the accomplishment of that season. That team was a state tournament team and always will be a state tournament team. So, so then we just kind of progressed from there and followed the guidelines that were sent down to us after that.
Of course, the girls basketball team had a great year, undefeated. Took a tough loss against Waconia, but gosh, what a great year they had too.
Oh yeah, the wrestling team had a great year. Girls basketball had a great year. Just a lot of positives come out of it, and we're just so happy that we have the support of the community like we do, the buy-in we get from the student athletes, because what they do it's demanding. I mean, those kids, they're at school all day and all night. Some of them are there in the morning for something like a jazz band practice, and then they go to school all day, and then they go to a sports practice afterwards or to a competition, and they put an awful lot of time and effort into it, and it's so fun to see them, be able to reap the benefits of that on the back end.
And so my son is going into 10th grade, so my first full-time year at going to Marshall High School sports was this past year. And it's so fun to see the fan sections. The volleyball fan section they're in a league of their own. And then to fast forward all the way to the game we just mentioned at Gustavus, the Mankato East fan section was amazing. Our fan section was just as rowdy. It was but a good rowdy.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the things about that game that was so fun. I mean, both crowds, they were into it the whole time, respectful.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I thought the game was well officiated. Yeah. The teams played hard. Yeah, just a great high school environment.
Yeah. So as the activity director, you oversee a lot of things, and you mentioned that's not only just sports though. You mentioned BPA and some of these other things. What else falls underneath your department?
Yeah, we're fortunate. We do have 21 varsity level sports, and a lot of people look at the AD position as an athletic director, and that's a huge part of it. But it's really an activities director, and in addition to those 21 sports, we have multiple different fine art and academic teams, clubs, both competitive and non-competitive. So, you mentioned BPA and FFA, our Business Professional of America, Future Farmers of America. Basically anything that's extracurricular, anything that's done before school hours or after school hours falls under the activities director. So all of our extracurricular bands, jazz band, marching band, things like math team, knowledge bowl, student council, all of those different clubs and organizations that we have are administered through our office. So it's just a matter of making sure we have schedules and transportation and all of those kinds of things for those teams. And those groups, that's what we do.
It's a lot of organization.
It is, and we're fortunate to have a lot of very organized coaches and advisors that work with all of those teams to keep the wheels turning.
Definitely. How has COVID-19 impacted the department activities just in general? The spring, summer, potentially this fall.
Just like I think COVID-19 has impacted every aspect of life for everybody. Around it certainly has impacted us. Our coaches and advisors and directors have had to learn a whole new normal, just like we all have in all aspects of our lives. It's changed the way we've been able to contact kids, and in some ways we've created some ways to connect with kids we haven't had before. When it was kind of in the hard shutdown days of last March and April, being able to learn to communicate virtually and things like Zoom that none of us never knew about before became very important ways to connect with kids and maintain some of those relationships that define what our activities programs are all about. So we've had to learn how to do that. We've had to adjust through the course of this whole pandemic. Guidelines change frequently, and we've had to learn how to adjust with the times. And I know the governor likes to use turning the dial as a kind of a metaphor. Well, we've had to grow with those dials turning.
Right, you got to kind of manage because you're just waiting for the word to come down, and then it kind of spreads down to you here on campus with SMSU. You got a lot to manage.
What it really means, trying to define what it really means what can we do? What can we do safely to allow the kids some sort of an experience and still keep that safety in mind?
Right. So you kind of touch on it. The most challenging part of managing all this?
Probably the frequency of new information.
Right.
And how quickly things can change. What you thought you had figured out one day, you get some new documentation or new guidelines that come the very next day, and you learn that maybe that's not what you can or can't do. So that's been maybe the biggest challenge, is just keeping up with the frequent changes and the guidelines that are provided to us, and then disseminating that out and getting the word to those who need it.
Right. We have heard at the chamber many times over is our members, they get the executive orders, but then they just kind of wait for the Cliff Note version for us because it's a little bit easier to read. Because it's very complicated, and just because you think you might have it figured out one day, the next day you're like, no, I guess that's not the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
I've experienced the same thing.
Right. What entities do schools work with on dealing with COVID-19? And is it guidance from the Department of Health, the high school league? Of course, you heard from them this week. Your conference. Who do you all work with?
Yeah, that's one of the things I think that's maybe makes high school sports a little bit unique from the youth organizations or the club organizations.
Yep.
Those entities operate with guidance from other places. Because we're a school-based and an education-based athletic or activities department, we really have to start with the Minnesota Department of Education. That's where kind of things, and they come from mostly the Minnesota Department of Health. Then you have the Minnesota State High School League that administers most of our activities, not all, but most of our activities come through them. So we have to follow what mandates and guidelines and requirements that they all put out. Some of those things come from the CDC, and they just use that. Other things are more specific. So there's a lot of different entities. You mentioned the conference. Certainly, yesterday I was at a Big South Conference meeting as we tried to digest what the new guidelines meant for our conference. And we have some fall sports that are going to be starting up here shortly, and we're throwing a pretty big curveball on what we can and can't do there. So we're really scrambling to kind of recreate schedules and meet the new norm that we were given this week. So we have lots of entities we have to answer to, and lots of places we have to draw the information from.
So let's touch on that. And of course, I think probably our watchers are kind of waiting for this question, and that's going to be about the announcement that came out on Tuesday. The Minnesota State High School League delaying or postponing football and volleyball to the spring. Cross country and soccer and a few others are able to start this fall. So what does that mean for the fall 2020 athletics season? Any chance some of those spring sports might flip to the fall? Is there any talk about that? The one sport that I didn't see really touched on and voted on, and something my son is involved with as well as football, is Clay Target League. So I'm throwing a lot out at you.
Yeah. Well, there are still a lot of questions out there that we're waiting. I know the high school league has an eligibility meeting this afternoon, and we're hoping even by this afternoon to get some more guidance on exactly what some of these things mean. Unprecedented times, we've heard that so many times, and I think the high school league's in the same position right now. They did take some action that is unprecedented, moving football and volleyball to what they're calling a fourth season, creating they're going to kind of wedge in a new season between where the end of traditional winter sports is and the traditional beginning of spring sports.
Right.
Moving a spring sport to the fall was on the radar back in May or June, but the logistics that created in conflict with some of the existing fall things, they felt like we create more problems potentially than we're going to solve.
Sure.
So that kind of went away pretty early in the discussion.
Okay.
And now we're going to be looking at, on the other side of things, the potential of the spring sports season, which traditionally would start more in late March, early April, probably not starting till late April or early May.
Right.
And going into the summer further. Typically spring sports state tournaments would wrap up mid-June.
Yeah.
They're probably looking more like early July.
Right.
And I know that the high school league committee is working on defining exactly what the dates are. They told us that this morning on a conference call, that we're going to try and get those dates because you all need to redo schedules, hire officials, secure your facilities. They know that that's out there, but it is going to be different. I don't think there's any chance that we have any of our seasons in a, quote, normal season, and that's probably including winter season. They haven't even talked about that yet, but
Right.
I'll be very surprised if that is a, quote, normal year as well.
Right.
May have to make some adjustments there to make room for the football volleyball season. The good news is, and when we've talked with our coaching staff about this, the good news, the way I see it, nothing was canceled. At this point, we're still going to have the opportunity for all the kids to experience those activities that they're accustomed to experiencing sometime during this school year. It's maybe going to be at a different time than normal. It may be in a shortened season, but the opportunity is still going to be there for them to have that experience. And ultimately, I think that's a positive that came out of this.
Sure. How about clay target? Is that, I know that's more big and prevalent in the spring, but I know there's a fall league. Have any feel on, is that happening, or?
Yeah, in the spring season, the high school league has a culminating event.
In Alexandria,
Yep. They don't sponsor anything in the fall, but there is a fall season
Yeah.
that comes with it. And we do anticipate that there'll be an opportunity for that fall season to happen as well.
Good. Okay. And just for the watchers that are out there, this is being recorded on Thursday, August 6th, as we were talking about some of the meetings that are happening today. Of course, this is televised multiple times. And with how many times things change, as Bruce and I have been talking about day by day, I just wanted to make sure that our watchers know which day this is getting recorded. So interesting, and with all the changes, and who knows how many times this is going to change between now and the start of the school year. Of course, earlier this week, the school board met about what the upcoming school year is, and how many times that's going to change between now and September 7th, I think, is when the school starts too. So, all right. So thanks, Bruce, and sure do appreciate you being on here. So, kind of anything else you wanted to, the watchers out there that want to know about? Anything else you wanted to talk about regarding sports at the high school?
Yeah, I mean, we're just, like I mentioned before, we feel pretty fortunate for the support we have community-wide. We're going to do everything we can to try and allow the community to continue to be a part of that. I get the question a lot, what about fans? Will fans be allowed? That's still being defined right now. There's some different guidelines for indoor sports and outdoor sports and what that might look like. And as you know, anytime the governor might change that dial, it could impact the number of people we're allowed to have in facilities, things like that. So, we'll continue to put information on the website as we get it and what those things might look like. We're working with our local school district on how can we best keep our students safe, keep our school open. That's priority number one. And that means mitigating risks for any kind of infection for students and things like that as our number one priority. So decisions that we make have to revolve around that first, and then we go from there. So
Good.
We're excited about it and appreciate the opportunity to visit with you about
Well,
it.
good, and hopefully, it's, the St. Paul Saints went back to the season, their complex, their field, this week, and they had 1,500 people. So maybe that's a sign things will start trickling away. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being optimistic. I don't know. But, all right. So let's talk about what can we look forward to in August. And normally, obviously, there's a whole lot of things in August that usually happen that aren't happening. Of course, the Sounds of Summer isn't happening, the Lyon County Fair, football practice. Well, actually, let's talk about that for a second, because practices can still happen, right?
Yes, they are going to have a limited contact practice only, in your small pod.
Yeah.
Guidelines for both volleyball and football, as well as some of the spring
Baseball,
sports.
Yeah.
So again, I heard on the call this morning that they're working this afternoon to try and define exactly what limited contact means.
Sure.
How many days a week,
Yeah.
how many weeks they'll be allowed some of that contact. So we'll get some more information there, but I think the intent there is that you provide kids an opportunity to connect with their coaches,
Sure.
to
Good.
have that peer interaction. They may not be able to safely compete against other communities, but they still have an opportunity to make those connections.
Sure. Good. So anyway, August, usually the fair happens, the Sons of Summer happens, sports usually kicks off. Some of these things aren't happening, but let's talk about what the community can still take advantage of. The Prairie Home Hospice Ball, it was supposed to happen in April, one of many fundraising events that wasn't able to take place. This is going to be an online event now. You can do your online bidding. It's going to be this upcoming Sunday, the 9th through the 13th. And when we talked about this back in April, the Prairie Home Hospice Committee, they secured over 500 items. And this is a great opportunity to give back to a super important charity. So consider that this upcoming Sunday, August 9th through next week on the 13th. Traveling Trivia is happening at the Legion this month. Of course, this is the event that kicked off last September. So this is its 12th time happening. And this is going to be at the Legion. Head on over there next Thursday the 13th, make your reservation. And then if you make your reservation, you automatically get to play. Have you ever played the trivia yet?
I have not.
It says, in its heyday, when I mean heyday, just last fall, before things kind of went haywire, they're getting about 150 people, and you get teams of 5, teams of 6. It's a great way to connect with your friends. So fun times. Marshall Area Hockey Association 8th Annual Golf Scramble is next Friday, in 2 Fridays, on the 21st at the Marshall Golf Course. So a great way to give back to the Marshall Area Hockey Association. Tee times is how a lot of events, golf tournaments are happening. So that way you're not congregating before and after. So if you're interested in that, more information is on the Chamber website. You can also go to the Marshall Area Hockey Association Facebook page for more details. Citywide garage sales are happening on August 21st and August 22nd. As most of our watchers are probably aware of, this normally happens on the first weekend in May. And at that time, there was just so many questions in the area, and if you could even have garage sales. Of course, garage sales are happening all over the place. People are selling corn now and all these other things. So certainly, if you're interested in having your own garage sale and being part of the organized effort behind the citywide garage sales, contact the Marshall Independent for more details. And then lastly, the one chamber event I wanted to touch on is our State of Agriculture event that the chamber is putting on. Tuesday, August 25th, it's going to be underneath the Hoop Barn at the Lyon County Fairgrounds. We have 5 panelists. We have Greg Borbrum with Borbrum Ag Resources. We have Eric McVeigh with Archer's Daniel Midland, Representative Chris Wodzinski, and we have Paul Lanou, and Paul is with the Lyon County Farm Bureau. And we also have one other, and I can't think of who it is. But either way, it's going to be a great event. Tuesday, August 25th. Registration details are on our website. So if you're interested, come on out. We'd love to have you. The 5th one, his name is Ken Fransky with Central Crop Consulting. So we have different areas of agriculture. If there's been one good thing about this spring, it's been the amazing weather that we have had for agriculture. Because if our farm community had to deal with the same kind of weather we had last 2 years, what a disaster.
Yeah, no doubt. Certainly good news for them. Great growing season.
Yeah. Now the prices got to pick up. We know that. But August 25th, come on out to the State of Ag event. Normally indoors. We're going to have it outdoors. A little bit safer outside right now. So let's hope for good weather on that day. All these events can be found on our website, marshallmn.org. They can be seen on the visit website, which is visitmarshallmn.com. So again, Bruce, thanks for being here today.
You bet. Thanks for the opportunity.
Our guest next month is going to be Cam Bailey. Cam is with Marshall Community Services. He's going to give us a rundown on what we can expect for community-wide activities for people to do through community services. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks, Bruce, for being here, and we'll see you in September.